What are you most thankful for around the time for Thanksgiving? This year, I'm most thankful for the Food Network giving me a Thanksgiving-themed show that I could talk about on this podcast. This is the recap episode. I'm your host, Walker. This is a podcast where I use social science to research and review and analyze reality TV shows, covering all-time favorites and exposing you to shows that you've never heard of. In this episode, I'm talking about Food Network's Ultimate Thanksgiving Challenge. This is one of Food Network's holiday-themed cooking competition shows, and you may be asking yourself, Walker, what depth is there even in such a show? Is it not just a nice way for Food Network to get some money and around a holiday and give people something to watch, pushing advertisements because they've got the channel on and they can kind of just put it on in the background? And I say, yes, that's a very astute observation. But you'd be surprised at what I can do on this podcast and what I can pull out of these shows. And this one has some surprising hidden depth to it. Again, this is a Food Network cooking competition. It's around Thanksgiving for this one, so you're only going to get 3 to 4 episodes, depending on how long November is. November is always the same length, but depending on what day in November Thanksgiving falls on, and how the calendar is set up for that year. The show so far has only had 2 seasons, although personally I would say I would like to see more of it. It was fun to watch. Season 1 aired in 2018 for 3 weeks, 3 total episodes. Season 2 aired in 2019, 4 weeks, 4 total episodes. It's your standard kind of cooking competition, food competition format. So you have a number of competitors. They're going to participate in various challenges, themed, in this case, around Thanksgiving. One will be eliminated each week until we get to a final 3, and then the final 3 are pared down to a ultimate winner in the final episode. There's not really much for me to say about the history of this show or behind the scenes of its production, especially since for this format, Food Network and the production companies they work with to produce this type of show have this down to a formula and a science. They know exactly how to cast it for both entertainment and also intrigue. They know how to produce it, how to design good challenges that are going to be engaging and also seem fair to the competitors. And they know how to edit it to make it the most interesting, but also not too interesting, potentially. Again, great show to have on in the background while your family's around for Thanksgiving and you just need something on. Or also a great show to marathon as you prepare for Thanksgiving. So if you've watched Chopped, if you've watched Holiday Baking Championship or Holiday Wars or any of these kind of shows, you'll be very familiar with the Food Network formula, like I said, but the entire shebang here. It's a Food Network competition. So you have a set. What's in your set? You've got cooking stations. You've got the pantry wall, various labeled containers and produce and meats, and you've got fridges, with cheeses and things that need to be refrigerated. You've got all sorts of appliances along the walls. Everyone has nice ovens and stoves, and there's microwaves, blast chillers, all these different other appliances, stand mixers, anything they could need. Of course, the dreaded Food Network ice cream machine is around. And minor spoilers for the recap, the dreaded Food Network ice cream machine does make an appearance. If you don't know what that's about, go watch Chopped. Honestly, you could probably pick any random episode, and statistically you're likely to pick an episode where someone attempts to use the ice cream machine to make an ice cream out of something strange, and either the machine breaks down, or they didn't incorporate their ingredients well, or they didn't churn it for long enough, and instead of getting ice cream they get butter. It's just so common that it's a trope. And anytime someone attempts to use the ice cream machine on any Food Network show, everyone's kind of oh, is it actually going to even work? Because our show is Thanksgiving themed, our set here is decorated to be very homey and comforting, which I found nice. It kind of felt like being in a Hallmark movie or going to Michael's around the fall autumnal time. There's a lot of neutral browns, oranges, reds, There's like fake fireplaces along the walls. At one point there was a fire. Couldn't tell if it was real. I think it was fake. It flashed by so quickly in the background that I was like, oh, what's that? We've got some nice autumnal decor, leaves and many gourds. Because this is a reality competition show, especially in the type of show where they have multiple contestants doing the same thing at the same time, in this case, cooking dishes to compete in a challenge, there's lots of cameras and lots of angles being shot simultaneously. So every competitor will typically have one camera focused on them, a specific crew member holding it, so they can get lots of different angles by the crew member moving around. And then there'll be lots of sort of panning cameras and wide shots. And this show is no stranger to that, to the point where we actually get to see a lot of the personal camera crew for each contestant, like in the wide panning shots, which is, for me, it's very exciting to see, like that little peek behind how the sausage gets made, for a lovely food metaphor there. There are some funny moments though here where, something I'm always curious about with these any competition show, but particularly food competitions. What are the judges doing ever at all when they're not judging? And we get to see some incredible shots of our judges hanging out in the background. Sometimes they're watching because the show will have, the editors and producers will have the judges comment on what they're seeing happen, usually some kind of chaos or some problem to help build tension. But there were also shots of just like one of the judges looking and the other two like on their phones, which to me is fun and funny. Speaking of the judges, this is a Food Network competition, 2018-2019, so we've been doing this for a while. This show is hosted by Food Network veteran Giada De Laurentiis. She's done so much, and she honestly does an incredible job in this show. She brings a lot of energy, and you can tell she's having a lot of fun, and she enjoys interacting with both her fellow Food Network regular stars who are acting as judges, but also the competitors. It's also fun to see her run around and not only talk to the contestants while they're making their dishes about what they're making and the choices they're making, but Giada will also just like step in and like try like a gravy or a sauce or something, and she's just like, oh, that's good. And sometimes she'll offer like oh, it's really good, but it's too salty or too spicy or whatnot. So it's really cool to kind of see her use her actual expertise as a chef and as a cook and provide guidance to her contestants. Interestingly, and this is something I didn't pick up on initially, she's not serving as judge here. She's only serving as host. So not only is she not making any judgment calls, she also doesn't get to eat any of the food. At least not on camera at the same time when the judges are eating the food. She's just kind of sitting there next to them with her glass of water. But love Giada. She brings a lot of personality to this. We have 3 judges for this one, and again, they are all Food Network regulars at this point. We have Iron Chef Alex Guarnaschelli, who's been on so many things. We have the incredible, wonderful cook and cookbook author Carla Hall. And then we have the more recent to Food Network stardom at this point, Christian Petroni, who I believe was on season 14 of Food Network Star, a show where the Food Network has a competition to try to figure out who's going to become regular show holder, I guess, or like host on the Food Network and join the ranks of everyone else, of the Guy Fieri's, Alex, Giada, etc. It's a good crew. They're a good balance with each other, and they all interact with each other really nicely, and they interact with Giada and the contestants really well. But I will say that's something you kind of come to expect. The Food Network hosts and judges are a unique breed who are all very well versed in how to run and hold a good, captivating, and engaging show on this network. So, like I said, 2 seasons, both really, really short, 3 episodes, 4 episodes. So I'm actually going to recap both of them in this one podcast episode. And we'll see how long that takes. Let's see if we can keep it under an hour. So I'm not going to cover everything in super detail. I don't think it'd be a very entertaining podcast episode if I sat here and I just said, described every single dish every single person made. It would take a while, and I don't think it would be as entertaining as some of you may think it might be. Plus, I think you can find a lot of these recipes online. If not on Food Network's website, I'm sure someone else who's a fan has figured out a way to make a copycat recipe, or the chef themselves has probably come around later and published a recipe or a similar version of it. But also the show does have enough detail and enough narration and post-challenge confessional talking head interview with the contestants, where if you're an experienced cook, experienced baker, you could probably figure out how to make this stuff if you wanted to. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I will cover more what were the challenges, what were the interesting moments that were found and were produced or generated, and kind of just describe the overall trajectory of the competition. I will say conveniently, every single episode, both seasons, follows the same format until the final episode. So there's 2 challenges per episode. The first challenge is always smaller in scope. It's themed around either doing something with a traditional Thanksgiving side or a dessert, or make an appetizer or a party food, something smaller in scope, like I said. They only get 30 minutes for that one. And of course, there's usually some kind of fun twist. If it wouldn't be an entertaining show, nor a Food Network competition show without some kind of twist. After that, the winner of that challenge will earn an advantage. Usually this advantage comes in the form of getting to select a particular ingredient or a technique or something for the secondary challenge, which they call the dinner challenge for this show. And this one is usually grander in scope. It's something usually prepare a whole turkey and a side. In the final, it's make a whole feast for the judges. For the dinner challenge, they usually get 1 hour. Again, there's usually a funky, fun twist. Sometimes it's not introduced except for halfway through. And for the final episode, in season 1, they actually used the first challenge to eliminate their top 3 down to a top 2. And then for their top 2, the secondary challenge, they got 3 hours for. In the second season, they chose not to eliminate one of their top 3 to a top 2 after the first. They just received another advantage instead. So their final challenge still had 3 contestants. Comparing the 2, I kind of liked what the approach they did for season 2 better, and letting all 3 contestants who made it to the finale still participate in the final challenge. Because that first challenge can, if it throws you a curveball, it can really mess you up. And kind of eliminating someone with that did feel kind of oh, that was sad that person just got eliminated on a weird mini challenge. One last thing before I get into the true recap. The prize for both seasons was $25,000 given to the ultimate final winner of the Ultimate Thanksgiving Challenge. So in season 1, we start with 5 contestants. We meet Deborah Van Treese from Atlanta, Georgia, who specializes in globally inspired soul food. We meet Josh Hedquist, who's an executive chef from Minneapolis. Jackie Rothong, who's a food stylist. Darnell Ferguson, the owner of the Super Chef restaurants. And Jordan Economy from Texas, who is also a chef and co-owner of a restaurant. The first challenge for the first season is to give a classic Thanksgiving side a makeover. Either cream corn, green bean casserole, sweet potatoes, stuffing, or mashed potatoes and gravy. They must reimagine the dish without losing the essence of what makes it a true Thanksgiving favorite. And for our twist, all of their new sides must also incorporate canned cranberry sauce, which I'm just going to take a moment and aside here. I love canned cranberry sauce. This is a canned cranberry safe space. If canned cranberry sauce has no fans, then I am dead. If canned cranberry sauce has one fan, it is me. One thing that this style of competition show typically does is they are quick to characterize their contestants and give you kind of a single or maybe 2 attributes to associate with them. So you're learning their name, you're getting attached to their personality, you're watching them, perform their craft and their skill, but it also wants to give you something else to remember them by. So Deborah, for example, she talks a lot about being in the South, making a lot of soul food. She has extreme familiarity with Creole and Cajun cuisine. through her older family members. Josh, he's a dad. He talks about his kids a lot. Jackie is a food stylist. She's the only one and she tells this in the confessional. She's the only one who doesn't own a restaurant or co-own or some kind of food business. Deborah did catering for a while, for example, as well. So she also immediately characterizes herself as a bit of an underdog, because she's the only one who's just not a chef in the same way everyone else is. Darnell, of course, is also a dad, has lots of kids. That's one of his things. They all, get to work reinterpreting their sides. Everyone here is super duper creative, and then doing a lot of work. It's fun to see and fun to watch. We get a little bit of tension. That's another thing these types of shows like to do a lot, is how they're going to keep you engaged. Well, they got to find some way to build some tension, put you on the edge of your seat. Usually that comes in two ways. Either a chef makes a mistake and they have to figure out how to correct it and fix it. Again, the previously mentioned ice cream machine, if you go to use it and it doesn't work, what are you going to do next? Or, and this one is used way more often and I fall for it every time, are the chefs going to finish cooking their dish in time and get it on the plate in time? Because the only thing that is judged is the stuff that's on the plate given to the judges. I fall for it every single time. The tension builds up, it gets me hype, and I'm always like, are they going to finish? Are they going to finish? I'm nervous for them. They always finish. I honestly cannot tell you the last time I watched a Food Network show, and I watched a lot of Food Network, and they just didn't fully finish what they wanted to give to the judges. So it does happen, but not that frequently. So the winner of this first small challenge, first off, I'll say I predicted Jackie to get through it. She took the sweet potato casserole, and she turned it into sweet potato croquettes with some nice pecan breadcrumbing, and putting it on top of a bruleed marshmallow cream fluff thing. So really taking the idea and really twisting it and reinventing it, but still keeping it original to the flavors and the ideas of the traditional dish. So she was the winner. She gets an advantage, which for this one ends up being a selection for the ingredients she has to use in the dinner challenge. Said dinner challenge is they must whip up a turkey dinner, a side, and a dessert all in 1 hour, and they must use one of the following ingredients: gooseberries, currants, wild corn, chestnuts, or turnips. Jackie gets to choose first. Out of her advantage, she chooses currants because she likes that they are both savory and sweet, so they have a lot of versatility. Everyone else is free for all. Darnell ends up with turnips, and he goes for a Chinese barbecue turkey. Darnell is really super creative with all of his choices in his meals and his dishes throughout this season. And he also wants to make some pineapple sorbet, the first use of the ice cream machine. Josh gets chestnuts. He decides to braise his turkey and make a ricotta gnocchi. Deborah got the gooseberries. She makes a Cajun fried turkey and uses the gooseberries in some dressing, as well as in a glaze for her dessert. Jackie, with the currants, makes a turkey saltimbocca, which I've never heard of. Love to learn things. And she uses the currants in a jam in her dessert. Jordan got stuck with the wild corn, which he really struggles with. He also goes for a Cajun turkey. He makes it sous vide, which is interesting. His first attempt to use this wild corn, he just makes popcorn. And it does succeed, and everyone's like, wow, cool. And then he just kind of covers it with some chocolate, and he also decides to try to use the wild corn to make grits. It doesn't really go well. The tension here is mostly in Jordan not figuring out what he wants to do for this wild corn. He's also never used it before, so it's really giving him a hard time. And Deborah has some things where it's kind of unsure if her turkey is cooked the way she wanted it to be. Ultimately, at the end of this dinner challenge, the judges deem that Darnell, Jackie, and Josh are the most safe. This puts Jordan and Deborah up for a potential elimination, and they get rid of Jordan first, claiming the corn got the better of him. Episode 2, which, by the way, is called Pies, Sides, and Leftover Surprise. A little peek of what we're getting in for. Our first little mini challenge is all about pies. the contestants must turn classic pie ingredients into a new savory side, and all the pies are randomly selected. Jackie gets apple, Deborah gets pumpkin, Josh gets pecan, and Darnell gets chocolate pie. The ingredients, all of them are given pie crust, and then they're given like 2 other ingredients that would typically be found in the pie. So apples and cinnamon, pecans and dark corn syrup, evaporated milk and canned pumpkin, or chocolate and heavy cream. They gotta figure out what are they gonna do with that. Ultimately, in the judging here, Deborah wins this mini challenge. They really loved the grits. It was a big surprise for them. Turning pumpkin filling into grits was a big risk, and they loved it. So Deborah wins an advantage in the dinner challenge, which is working with leftovers. They must take leftover turkey and a leftover side dish and make it into a completely new meal, including turning a pie leftover into a non-pie dessert. Deborah, for her advantage, gets her own first choice, but then she also gets to assign what all of the others will use. That's like 12 different ingredients here, so I'll just say again, it's all the same pies as before: pecan, chocolate, pumpkin, and apple. The turkey part is the different parts of the turkey. So like Deborah chooses breast, but then there's smoked turkey, turkey thighs, and drumsticks, and then they all got a side. Deborah chose wild rice, but then there was also acorn squash, glazed carrots, and Brussels sprouts. Deborah chooses to go for a turkey gumbo with wild rice oyster balls and a pecan bread pudding. Josh chooses to make a smoked turkey ragu and acorn squash agnolotti. I definitely pronounced that wrong. It's a type of pasta. And a buttermilk ice cream chocolate pie milkshake ice cream. Put a pin in that. Jackie decides to go for a mole turkey enchilada pie with glazed carrots. Very cool. She also chooses to do ice cream. She wants to do fried ice cream with like the pumpkin added in. Put a pin in that. Darnell is doing a lasagna with some candied bacon, turkey leg, and Brussels sprouts. He wants to make an apple pie ice cream sandwich made with French toast. So we have 3 ice creams. In my notes, I called this the ice cream showdown because there's only a single ice cream machine that all 3 chefs must share at first. Josh goes for it first and messes up his ice cream, and he made more of a butter. Jackie succeeds at making an ice cream from the ice cream machine, but things fall apart in a different way. Darnell also overturns his ice cream, and it's not a good texture when it comes out. Josh reattempts the ice cream machine, and it works this time, so he can make these milkshakes he want to make. But by this point, Jackie's ice cream that she was attempting to, again, deep fry is now melting in the deep fryer, so she instead tries to torch them into something and like roll them in this like candied ginger kind of thing. The fun thing with Jackie is she's like doing this all on the floor, like pan on floor, working on top of it. And I just note again, the tension in this episode, all of it entirely just comes from the dreaded Food Network competition ice cream machine. Shout out to Deborah for not having to deal with the ice cream machine and making a lovely bread pudding, as Christian Petroni put it. Ultimately, by the end of the judging, Josh is safe. Darnell, they love his creativity and what he's making, but the ice cream potentially almost did him in. Jackie, they love that she used her ingredients boldly, but some of the flavor was lost, and she had good ice cream texture, but all of them were like, what are you doing with this like ice cream ball thing that she ended up making? And Deborah made a complex dish with beautiful flavor, but they thought her bread pudding, while good, was like a little dry. Ultimately, Jackie is eliminated. Specifically, Giada tells her over spicing on top of the ice cream and its over sweetness, which is so funny to me. The only one of them who like got the ice cream machine to work properly on the first try was eliminated because of her ice cream. Truly, you never know what you're going to get in the Food Network multi-universe of competition shows. So episode 3, which again is our last episode for season 1, we're already done with this season, from 5 down to 3 for a final episode. A Feast to Remember. Their first challenge is all about party bites. They must make a dessert bite and a savory bite. but they must make them without using the oven or stove. They're allowed to use any other appliance that is around, however. So, Darnell chooses to make a Mexican street corn hush puppy, which is something that I want to make. I love the Food Network shows because I also love to experiment with cooking. New ingredients, new flavors, cuisines, techniques. I love watching them and getting like my own ideas. I'm like, oh, I could try to make that. That doesn't seem too complicated. Or learn about a new ingredient that I'm like, oh, I should try that. So this like elote hush puppy, I'm like, oh, I'm all about that. He makes a waffle donut. He's using mostly the deep fryer and the waffle iron to do this. Deborah goes for the panini press. She goes for the deep fryer. She's doing a bacon-wrapped quail and some fried apple wontons. Josh also goes for the panini press and the blowtorch. He's like making 2 different types of bruschetta, a savory one and a dessert one. While he's working on like some corn to use in the savory one, he just picks up a blowtorch to start blistering the corn like on the cob. And all of the judges watch him doing this, and they're all like, please don't. They're like, we don't want to consume kerosene or any of its associated flavoring. We get a little bit of tension here because everyone comes down to the wire on getting their food on the plates. And remember, there's no advantage for winning this first challenge. Instead, the weakest person just gets sent home. So everyone's a little tense here. Everyone comes down to the wire, but they played it up the most for Darnell not finishing like his plating. In the judging for this first little challenge, Deborah is declared safe, which they don't usually do for these first challenges. But again, someone's going home. And out of Josh and Darnell, Josh gets sent home. His just wasn't like up to the same level the other two's were. Although I do have to commend his, again, inventive use of a panini press to turn cornbread into bruschetta. The little like bread base that you use for that. Which is something that I also want to steal and try and make. It's the last episode in season 1, so the dinner challenge is the ultimate Thanksgiving menu. They're tasked with making turkey really however they want. They need to do a starch-based side, a veggie-based side, and something extra. The plates also all need to feature lobster, venison, or duck, which were all proteins found apparently at the first Thanksgiving, back in, 1621 or whatever. Deborah chooses lobster and Darnell chooses venison. They get a whole 3 hours. Halfway through this, Giada introduces her lovely twist, where they also need to produce a dessert. And I have in my notes here, I was wondering where that was, both the desserts and the twist, because there's always a twist. Darnell produces a Nashville hot turkey. Sorry, as he calls it, a Louisville hot turkey, which I think is funny, and I do appreciate, as an ex-resident of Kentucky. He chooses only to the drums of the turkey to save him some time. He does Duchesse potatoes. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I learned that it's not Duchess. Potatoes, using both russet and sweet potatoes. He makes greens, and then he does his venison with a pork chocolate reduction sauce, and he chooses to make a banana pudding, ginger snap ice cream cake. He does go for the ice cream again, but it does work out. Don't worry. Deborah, she wants to do a lot of Cajun. She does a Cajun roasted turkey, which she spatchcocked, a dirty rice with turkey giblets, greens, lobster etouffee. She goes for a boozy poached pear cobbler. Deborah, love her. I love all the contestants. They're very personable and fun to watch. Deborah's trick, her little secret, up her sleeve that she's been using this whole time to help her get through this competition. When in doubt, throw alcohol in it. Get your judges drunk. They're going to love everything they try. And she is heavy-handed on it. After all the judging, it really came down to, hard to tell who's going to win. They're both very, very close. Darnell Ferguson is the winner of Season 1. And I just want to point out here, Darnell Ferguson, if you go to IMDb for this show, you'll see the judges, you'll see Giada, and then you'll see one other person who is specifically credited for being on this show, and it's Darnell. If you click to his IMDb profile and see what he's in, you'll see that he's in a slew of other Food Network shows. Specifically, he is also later on in Chopped Next Generation as a judge for a single episode. Grill of Victory as a regular judge. Tiny Food Fight as a judge. The Big Holiday Food Fight as a judge. He participated in Guy's Grocery Games. He was on Worst Cooks in America as a co-host. Guy's Tournament of Champions as a competitor. Outchefed as a competitor. Chopped as a competitor and judge. Beat Bobby Flay as a competitor. And then he had his own show that he hosted, Super Chef Grudge Match. Darnell went on to do a lot with the Food Network, and I believe he still is doing a lot, because I believe the Grudge Match show was very, very recent and is still definitely ongoing. Which is one of the things that I did want to talk about with the show, and I'll talk about it here to break up the little recap between Season 1 and Season 2. I like to ask all the time, what do these shows do for the people who participate in them and their cast members? For someone like the judges in this case, these shows help to really continue to fortify their credibility and their status as experts in their field and their area. Alex and Christian and Carla get to talk about flavors and understanding textures and share their expertise and their perspective on like how they would have approached a dish, not only when giving the actual critiques to the competitors and doing the judging, but also when they're chatting amongst each other or chatting with Giada in some sort of filler footage when the editors wanted to show us something aside from just the competitors cooking. So this, gives them experience, builds up their credibility, gives them another chance to be on television. The same can be said for Giada. And again, she's an excellent host. She's entertaining and engaging, and she does a great job at getting the judges and getting the contestants to talk and share their thoughts, which I will say all the contestants that were chosen for both seasons also loved. Like, they looked like they were having fun, not only at the show, but like with each other. Lots of banter, lots of friendly communication, which is also what you want to see for a Thanksgiving show. Like, you don't want anyone to be hostile. This is supposed to be good vibes only. But then what does this also do for the contestants? They get exposure. A lot of them are restaurant owners, co-owners, some kind of business owner, or a food stylist, in the case of Jackie. So they get exposure. They get to talk about their restaurant. This show is not going to do anything to, like, make them look bad. Any mistakes that they make, the show gives them, like, plenty of time to explain what happened and often make it out that it wasn't, like, their full, like, fault. It was something with, like, the stress of the competition or an ingredient they had never worked with before. So it's helping the competitors also gain credibility. But the other thing it does, and particularly this is why this show and many others exist on the Food Network, and why eventually they just made their own competition show about generating new Food Network TV personalities. This show is a really good, like, first staging ground for seeing what type of people might be out there that could make the good next, again, like, Food Network TV star. Darnell, not only did he do incredible in the competition with how creative he was and how great all of his meals and dishes were and everything, he also has a great personality. He does well on the camera. He did great interacting with Giada and the judges. And he's like just a likable guy. So this really was kind of like a proving ground, a test run for Darnell, and Food Network took him and ran with him and put him on a bunch of other shows and then gave him his own hosting duties eventually. So it's a very interesting thing. And this happens with other ones as well. And again, and eventually, Beat Bobby Flay is also really good for this, as is Chopped, which is why you'll also see many people who appear on multiple iterations of these competitions. Again, you see someone in Beat Bobby Flay, you may also see them in Guy's Grocery Games. You may also see them in... So, Season 2. Let's get into it. This one, they had 6 competitors this time. First season had 5. Season 2, they started with 6. They did have 1 extra episode, so they were able to have 1 extra elimination. We meet Eric Howard from New York City. He's the co-owner of Gramercy Ale House, and he is a New York firefighter. We have Jen Brule, who is the chef and owner of Davidson Ice House in Davidson, North Carolina. Robin Song, the executive chef of some restaurant from San Francisco. Didn't write it down. Apologies. Christian Gill from Cincinnati, chef and co-owner of Boomtown Biscuits and Whiskey. Kelly Farrell from Atlanta, chef and owner of Nana's Chicken and Waffles. And Mary Bass from Galveston, Texas, who is a private chef with a specialty for Latin cuisine. Our first challenge is to incorporate a low-cost item into an impressive appetizer. So either boxed mashed potatoes, mini marshmallows, boxed stuffing, cream of mushroom, French fried onions, or canned cut sweet potatoes. If you're like me, you're well familiar with all of these ingredients, even if you haven't really used them before. And I'll say, I love a box stuffing. This is a canned cranberry sauce and a box stuffing safe space. Again, everyone here starts out really creative and with their ingredient and figuring something out. But for some, not creative enough. Eric makes a candied sweet potato casserole. Jen goes for a crab and pancetta stuffing ball with an avocado and lemon mousse. Hello. Amazing. Robin makes a fried mashed potato ball. He says it's clean, not too fussy, but elegant. Also chooses to make some gravy via turkey wings in a pressure cooker. Love his ambition for pressure cooking turkey just to make gravy in 30 minutes. He has a little bit of tension because the filling for his mashed potato ball doesn't set properly, but he's really good at pivoting and changes it to something different. Christian, who specializes in comfort food, goes for a French fried onion shrimp with a sweet chili cranberry sauce. Kelly goes for a pumpkin marshmallow waffle with some Cajun turkey. She gets some good remarks here from the judges because she puts the mini marshmallows inside the waffle batter, which is a very smart move. And Mary, she got cream of mushroom. Now, how are you going to take cream of mushroom and reinvent it and make it into a fun, impressive appetizer? She just makes queso out of it. And makes some good little chips for the side. But she just makes a queso. Giada comes around at this point, though, and like when she's checking in on everyone, she's like, "Oh, you making a dip?" She loves dip. That's what she makes. And I was like, "Okay, Giada. I also love to make a dip." The winner of this first little mini challenge is Christian. He gets advantage in the dinner challenge. The people who are kind of like, may want to watch out for things, is mostly Mary. They like it and it was okay, but Alex is like, this is not enough stuff that like you actually transformed and cooked. She said it was like too much ready-made ingredient. The dinner challenge is very similar to the one in season 1 for the first episode. Make a turkey dinner with 2 signature sides in 1 hour. The goal, again, the twist, is to keep costs down by including a low-cost turkey item. Christian, as the winner of the first challenge, gets to choose his. That's his advantage. He picks ground turkey. The other items include turkey bacon, turkey jerky, sliced deli turkey, canned turkey, and turkey sausage. And it's in my notes, so I feel the need to mention it here. Everyone else had to like run and get the thing that they hopefully wanted after Christian got to choose his. Eric chooses to make a turkey jerky risotto and jerky stuffed mushrooms. Robin chooses to use the sliced deli turkey as a topping for a potato gratin that he makes. Mary, with her canned turkey, makes a turkey roulade, essentially stuffing the turkey with the canned turkey. She struggles a bit because she doesn't come up with a second side for a while, and she tries to make some grits. And as everyone on the show has mentioned multiple times, you don't rush grits. Christian, with ground turkey, he goes for a Thai twist. Makes a turkey with a yellow Thai curry. Jen got turkey sausage. She makes a smothered turkey with a sausage gravy. Kelly, with turkey bacon, makes a turkey bacon sauerkraut and a turkey bacon mac and cheese. She also had some tension because she goes for some Cajun turkey wings for the like main turkey element, and it's like, oh, her wings finish in time, who knows. Out of all the judging, everyone did pretty good. There are a few times where the judges are like, you're relying on this thing to make a shortcut or hide a particular flaw, or the movie is not some inconsistent cooking on a particular element. The one who received the worst critiques, however, was Mary. She is eliminated after this first episode. Episode 2 for Season 2, Untraditional Thanksgiving. Challenge 1 is Thanksgiving outside of the box. They must take traditional Thanksgiving flavors and incorporate them into a different classic dish. Either pizza, taco, burger, lasagna, or grilled cheese and soup. You may recall that one of the, I didn't really cover it, but most well-received dishes from Season 1 was a lasagna. Eric gets stuck with the soup and sandwich. Jen gets stuck with the pizza, where she makes these really cool, like, challah bread, pumpkin, cranberry, Gruyere, and country ham, like, mini pizzas. They look like a Thanksgiving pizza. It's really cute. Christian does, like, turkey al pastor tacos. Kelly goes, she's stuck with lasagna, which she hates the whole time. Her lasagna more ends up looking like a pasta-y soup kind of thing, because it's lasagna and you have 30 minutes to make it. Like, that just doesn't happen. And Robin loves it. He got the burger. He does amazing. And as I just kind of alluded to, Robin's the winner of that mini challenge. His advantage is, again, getting to choose not only what he wants to do for the dinner challenge, but he has to assign everyone else. Said dinner challenge is to take a classic Thanksgiving dinner, but infuse it with flavors from a different country. Either Thailand, Italy, China, Mexico, or India. Robin gets to choose his own, so he selects China, and he gets to assign the other cuisines to the other chefs. With his Chinese influence, he goes for a soy and pork braised turkey with fried rice and bok choy. Christian gets assigned India. He makes a tandoori turkey, some saag paneer, spinach, and raita, and a curry gravy. Kelly is assigned Italy. Continued torment from her lasagna earlier in the episode. She goes for a deep-fried Italian sausage with some pasta, greens, and a glazed ham. Great part with Kelly here. At one point, she uses some wine to cook, and she's like, my favorite part of this challenge is opening the red wine. Not only am I going to cook with it, I'm going to have a sip. Same Kelly. Jen gets assigned Mexico, and she goes for a chorizo cream corn. Eventually comes up with a second side of a sweet potato gratin with some Mexican spice flavors and cotija. Eric gets assigned Thailand, and he goes for a roast duck with coconut cranberry rice and some gochujang carrots and chimichurri. Out of all this judging, everyone does really well. Again, except for Jen. Her turkey was fine, and that was a success, but she doesn't, both her sides are not very good, and they were a low point, and that's what sends her home. Episode 3 is just called Thanksgiving Week. This is officially the halfway point in this season. Challenge 1 is all about Friendsgiving. The first challenge here is to make a perfect entree, but it can't be turkey. Instead, the 4 remaining contestants are randomly assigned either Cornish game hen or goose, and then they are paired up and partnered based on the bird they are assigned. So Christian and Kelly work together to cook with Cornish game hen, and Eric and Robin are assigned the goose. There's lots of mentions of like fall flavors here, which I love, and also I just want to point out here they start doing partner confessionals just for this challenge, and it's very cute. The judges have some interesting notes here about like the team dynamics. Kelly seems to take charge, and Christian is fine being her second fiddle sous chef, while Robin and Eric are a lot more working like on the same ground and working together and more collaborative stuff. At judging, Christian and Kelly had made just some standard Cornish game hens, but also with some white cheddar grits and some greens and green beans. And Eric and Robin went for a Korean fried goose with a cranberry and pickled vegetable slaw. The winners of this mini challenge ended up being Christian and Kelly, and their advantage is they again get to choose first for the dinner challenge, which is all about food inspired by the day after Thanksgiving and Black Friday. They have some like a fake grocery stand thing laid out, and it's very limited, like the leftover things that people didn't get during the initial rush, like on Black Friday. And they have categories: sweets, starches, vegetables, and snack foods. Whatever 4 ingredients they grab, they must use all of them. This is basically just Chopped. They took Chopped and turned it into a small challenge here. But it's entertaining and it's fine. And so we get some like really weird combination here. Eric has to deal with pork rinds, purple sweet potatoes, tomatillos, and caramel corn. Robin has to deal with cheese curds, canned beets, wild rice, and canned pumpkins. He really got the leftovers here. Kelly and Christian got to go first on selecting their things. So Kelly got kohlrabi, egg noodles, dried apples, and pickles. The pickles throw her for a loop. And there's a very funny moment because she's really struggling to figure out what to do with them. The camera just zooms in on this jar of pickles, and it plays the classic reality TV like rattlesnake noise, that like kind of thing, with the like string tension noise. Is very silly, but those pickles give her a run for her money. Christian got to choose pineapple, white bread, napa cabbage, and wasabi peas. It was an interesting challenge. Eric made like a purple potato shepherd's pie and tried to do like fried tomatillos, which didn't work. You know, he tried to make it like fried green tomatoes, but tomatillos just can't really do that. But he got commended on using the pork rinds as a crust, and he turned caramel corn into a shortbread. Robin made a really interesting like light salad out of cheese curds and the beets, and a pilaf out of the rice. Kelly made like a soup out of her turkey and made apple turnovers. Just a tomato and pickle salad. Honestly, same. I don't know what I would have done with the pickles. Alex Gornishelli also doesn't know what she would have done with the pickles. Christian goes for a Hawaiian theme. It's nice that like his was really cohesive. He made like a Hawaiian pork chop sandwich, a macaroni salad with wasabi peas, a pineapple slaw, and a bread pudding. All of this, we get to the end of this challenge, and this is again determining who's going to appear in the finale episode. Really interesting. The first thing they do, they were like, Robin, you're moving on to the finale. And then I thought they would do this dramatic thing of like, who's the second one? And then it comes down to the final two. No, they just said, Robin, you're moving on. And then I said, Kelly, you're not moving on. So Eric and Christian are also moving on, but that was kind of a strange way to go out. What took Kelly in was the tomato and pickle salad thing. Although everything else that she had made was really, really good. They liked the soup and they loved the apple turnovers. So, but everyone else was just kind of better use of their random ingredients. Final episode is literally just called $25,000 Thanksgiving. In case you forgot, the prize is $25,000. Challenge 1 is to prepare a dish that represents a special person that the contestants are most thankful for, and to also include a variety of squash that was present at the first Thanksgiving, either acorn, delicata, or butternut. And the judges are really looking for a dish where the squash is the star. 2 of them achieve that. However, Eric makes a squash oysters Rockefeller thing with some pancetta stuffing, and there's some like crab incorporated into this. Robin goes for a squash and arugula salad with pepitas. I initially was like, I don't think Robin's done enough here, but he actually wins this mini challenge. They just really liked what he made. And then Christian, with the delicata squash, tried to do like a salmon, a cooked steamed salmon with the delicata squash with some zucchini added into it, sauteed, and he also adds some orzo. And it's good, but it's like, everyone's like, but the salmon distracts like from it. The squash is supposed to be the focus. Robin is the winner. He earns an advantage. And his advantage this time is to not select something that will help him, because the final challenge is to just make an ultimate expression of your personal Thanksgiving. His advantage is he gets a sous chef for any 15 minutes he wants to help him out. The contestants get 3 hours to make whatever Thanksgiving they want to make that's an expression of themselves. They get a whole turkey to use. They have to make 2 sides. They have to plate it all as a beautifully styled family feast. And then, of course, same twist as last time. They got to bring a dessert. This time they got to make a pie, but it can be any pie that they want. Christian goes Creole for his feast. Eric makes a very interesting pesto turkey, which I had never considered before, and some squash salad, Hasselback, sweet potato salad, with like an oatmeal cookie crumble. Everyone got real inventive, and I love it. Robin overachiever, turkey 2 ways, and gravy, and he decided to make 3 sides: cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese. And then also he had to make the pie. Robin makes an apple pie, and at this point, this is what he calls for his sous chef, which, surprise, it's Kelly, who was just eliminated the previous episode. Very nice to see her come back. Also, we got a very, very funny moment where during the last minute of Kelly's helping out, Robin just sends her to spy on the other 2 and see what they're making. It's very fun. Everyone just had fun on this show. Eric made a blueberry and blackberry pie, and Christian made something I had never heard of before, a honey vinegar pie, which looks very tasty, and I'm very intrigued, and I feel like I need to go make that myself and figure out what that's all about. Very cute moment right at the end, right as they're all wrapping up, and we had the tension again of is everyone going to finish everything in time? Is it all going to get plated? Eric's pie top burned, and he's trying to figure out how to fix that. So he in the last they put it on the screen as the last minute or so, he whips up a new whipped cream and throws it on top, and it's so intense. And Giada was standing right there behind him, that when he succeeds, Giada is so excited that she is jumping for joy. She was so into that, and so seeing if it was gonna pay out or not. In the judging, they all get to present everything, and it's really nice, and it's really tricky, and it's tough for the judges because everyone's really good at this point, and it comes down to very minor details. For Robin, they call his presentation extremely Martha Stewart, at least Carla does, in its perfect simplicity. They love a bunch of his parts, everything comes together, except for the mac and cheese, and the pie could use more liquid. For Alex, everyone loved the turkey and the Hasselback potatoes, made an amazing pie, but his squash was a little undercooked in the squash salad. And then for Christian, first they note that this is the most cohesive plate from him so far. I would argue the Hawaiian one from the other episode was pretty cohesive too. But his turkey is just an 11 out of 10. Some comments about the etouffee being a missed opportunity for a seafood incorporation, but it was still good. And all the flavors are great. They loved his dessert. It was really neck and neck. It came down to very the details again. But Christian is the winner for this season. I predicted either Christian or Robin, and ended up being Christian. Ultimate Thanksgiving Challenge. I mean, it's a Food Network show, so there's not much to say about it. Of course, I'm going to pull out some random depth that you've never thought of. Like I did earlier, talking about how this show is a really good example of the launching pad show that Food Network likes to use to scout out new talent that they can turn into TV personalities for their channel. But one thing I found very interesting, and I didn't notice this until part of the way through the second season, and then when I went back and I looked at my notes from the first season, I was like, oh, in some of these Food Network competition shows, it really is just seeing people who are really good at what they do really well at what they do. We're watching them, we're watching experts, we're watching people who have trained, and this is their life, this is their work, and now they get to come on TV and show off, and it's really fun to watch. But this is Thanksgiving, and you also got to kind of think, who's going to be watching a Thanksgiving competition show? I can tell you it's most likely, going to be Food Network diehard fans, such as yours truly. But secondarily, it's also going to be people who like to cook, and people who also are probably cooking most of the Thanksgivings for their own families, or contributing greatly in some other way. And so, and what these people do is when they watch the show, they are not only watching it for the entertainment and seeing what happens, but when they see a dish, when they see an ingredient, a technique, a cuisine that is captivating to them, and it makes them want to try it and try out I saw this thing on the competition show. It didn't look too complicated. I think I can recreate it, in my own kitchen. Let me try that. And I think the producers and editors of the show have figured that piece out for this show specifically. And my evidence for this is there's a lot of this show trying to make itself really attainable to the audience compared to other cooking competition shows on the channel. In season 1, we had a challenge that was all about leftovers. how can you use leftovers? And all the different creative ways and a very variety of leftovers, including, again, turkey, sides, and dessert. And the judges even were talking about, not only during the judging, but during commentary while the competitors were cooking, this is a great way to use leftover this. This is a great way to reuse this kind of thing. Bring life into your leftovers. Carla was like, making a soup is a great idea. Because you've got a lot of good, vegetable and meat that you can reuse and turn into stock or turn into soup element, right? So, getting people to kind of recognize you've got leftovers. Let's give the people at home some ideas and make them feel like a cooking star, right? And then the same thing for in season 1, the challenge where they couldn't use the stove and the oven. The specific context for that was kind of the idea of on Thanksgiving, you're cooking with all burners, so sometimes everything is taken up, but you still have stuff to do and you need to get creative. You got to use the trusty microwave. You got a panini press, you got a waffle iron, you can use that to heat some stuff up and cook something, right? Or maybe you don't even have a nice range or anything and you want to do Thanksgiving for yourself or your friends, and you got to figure out how to make it happen. In season 2, there was a whole episode all about cheap ingredients, like the box stuffing, the boxed mashed potatoes, mini marshmallows, etc. And so all the contests, and something that was interesting here was not only was the challenge focused on using these cheap ingredients that the people who are watching at home are most likely more likely to be using themselves, and maybe they might be interested in finding ways to elevate them, they explicitly had all the contestants here make some comment about the theme for this challenge is keeping the cost low. So not only am I using the box stuffing that I was assigned, I'm also making sure the most expensive thing I'm using here is shrimp. I'm also using this other ingredient, pre-made cornbread. The pre-made cornbread showed up a lot, actually. Probably for good reason. They probably didn't want their contestants worrying about having to make cornbread in the short amount of time, so they just let them use the pre-made stuff. But it showed up way more than you would expect. And every single time it was like pointing out a celebrity that shows up in something you weren't expecting them to. But they had the contestants make a lot of comments about this is to keep costs low, or here's a way that you can use another cheap ingredient, which really just at that point it felt like it was calling out to me as we're trying to make this show helpful to our audience and something that they can use and incorporate into their own cooking and whatnot. And then my final piece here on this kind of theme of speaking directly to the audience is there was a whole episode where the theme was Friendsgiving in season 2, the partner challenge, where Christian and Kelly teamed up and Robin and Eric teamed up. The entire time during that mini challenge was talk from the judges, talk from the contestants about how you gotta, Friendsgiving is coming together and cooking for your friends. Isn't that so nice? Isn't that so wonderful? And really promoting this friendship and coming together and community. And it felt just like another one of those the show is speaking to you, the viewer. But I find that kind of cool. It makes sense. It's what kind of show would be what theme would be the best for that kind of technique? Thanksgiving. No other holiday, maybe Christmas, would be good for that. But Thanksgiving with the Food Network is really just about coming together, enjoying good food, and being together. That was Ultimate Thanksgiving Challenge. They only ever had 2 seasons. Nothing's ever aired since 2019. I kind of wish they'd bring it back. I like all the people they'd had on it. I know Giada De Laurentiis is currently on her more entrepreneurial adventure right now and not really doing as much with the Food Network. But they could have someone else host it. They could have Darnell host it. He was on it and now he does his own other things. But I recommend watching it if you like the food shows. If you need something to watch post-Thanksgiving, or anytime really. I mean, it's a good, fun show to watch. I watched it on Pluto TV, but I know it's available other places. 7 episodes. You could do it all in one day if you wanted to. Thank you so much for listening to this Thanksgiving-themed episode. As always, please rate, share the podcast, interact with me. You can comment on Spotify and other podcast platforms. You can also follow the pod on Instagram at The Recap Episode, where you can see announcements about the show, updates as to what I'm currently watching or working on. All the episodes are uploaded to YouTube at The Recap Episode Pod, and eventually, until the next episode, I am going to go enjoy myself some kind of funky Thanksgiving.